Okay, so today we are talking about how we would address a client as a counselor if our client told us in our previous time together that they are no longer going to their 12-step program, AA, even though they are a recovering substance abuse user. And they also told us that they are now hanging out with old friends from their previous life. So, the first question, just to address the client, is how would you approach the situation in your next session? And really, I think with counseling, when someone does that, it's dropping a bomb at the door right before they're leaving, so they don't have to talk about it. It's something that was really hard for them to say. They want to just get it off their chest because they've been thinking about it, and then they want to move on. And so, as a counselor, I think just acknowledging that that was something that was really hard to do, and appreciate that they have been honest with you. They could have held that information from you, and they chose to share it. And just saying thank you for sharing that with me. I could tell that that was very hard for you, and just acknowledging them in that situation. The questions that I would want to go through in this line of counseling for this session would be, last time you said you're no longer going to AA. Can you tell me more about that decision? I want to see if there's any reason why they want to say they decided to stop or not, since they didn't share with me about that last time. And then I think helping them kind of dive into what AA has done for them, asking what they feel like they've learned because of AA, what they feel like they've no longer, or what's no longer going, has no longer going to AA impacted them in any way. So what are they missing out on? What do they learn from that 12-step program? Has there been anything good about going? And just for them to like kind of recall, we can go through different memories or things that they've shared there that they've never shared before. Something like that is super helpful to bring up. And then as far as the old friends go, just how has hanging out with your old friends impacted you? And what do your previous friends think of AA? It does feel like those are kind of hand in hand in some way. So for them to like acknowledge that would be huge. And just getting them to realize like why they've made the decision, and then who these friends are to them. Are they really people that should be helping make big decisions like this in their lives? Next question is, would you confront the client about their actions? And like I said, it's a mixture of asking what's going on in the client's life. Why did they make this big decision? They've been going to AA for a long time, and then suddenly they stop. And they're also now suddenly hanging out with these old friends. So something might have happened to trigger this, and I want to know about that and see what we can find out about what's going on in their life. And I want them to be able to tell me about that on their own. So just kind of asking types of questions like that. What's going on in your day-to-day? Has anything recently happened that like might have been a triggering experience? That kind of thing. How would you handle the emotions and potential resistance? Like I said, handling their emotions with care is essential. They chose to tell you in the first place. That's a big deal, because there's a lot of shame around, getting back into old ways with substance abuse. So just acknowledging that they told you And, if they start to feel judged, they will withdraw. So, just saying like, hey, it's okay. If I start to feel like there's resistance going on, it's okay. If you don't want to talk about this right now, but I noticed that you weren't going to AA anymore. Like, if you don't want to talk about that, we probably will eventually, and we'll probably get to that point. But if we need to talk about just simple things and what's going on and little things before we jump into the heavier stuff, I get that too. That happens a lot, and I want to be respectful of that. So, and so, and then I want to acknowledge, like, hey, people stop going to AA. This happens a lot. And it's not something that you should feel shame about. It is typical for us as human beings to go back to things that feel familiar. So I don't want you to feel shame, but I do want you to recognize why you're doing the things you're doing and if they make the most sense for your goals in life. Really, that's just kind of plain and simple. That's where I want to be. But just always like tracking their emotions, where they are with you. If we need to push the brakes, we will. What would your overall treatment goal be in this session? I really want to understand like why they aren't going to AA, what triggered that, why they started hanging out with these old friends, and where their level of commitment to recovery stands now. Both of those things were pretty big decisions that happened right by each other. So maybe it was just like a quick decision that they're done, hang out with friends, and all happened in one night. Or has this been happening over and over and they're just now telling me? So they may be wanting to get back into recovery, or they may not be wanting to. And so I want to like figure out where their level of commitment to recovery is in this session, and then also helping them, just like I said, matching what they're doing now, their actions now, and if that meets what they said their goals were in life and in their recovery. If those are not matching up, which they aren't because they're doing things opposite of what recovery looks like, then just pointing those out to them. And then lastly, would you suggest interventions or provide recommendations for future action? And if they don't think that this specific group is for them, I would definitely suggest trying something else and having those resources ready. Hopefully they are meeting that same day. To get them to go that day would be super helpful, because they're already in that mindset. If it's a few days later, they're gonna start just not wanting to go anymore and psyching themselves out. So I would find something that day for them to start if they were wanting just to try something new. And then I would ask them what they want their next few weeks of life to look like in between when I meet with them again. And just kind of like their goals for themselves in between this meeting and the next one. And the next meeting, we would see if those happened, if they aligned, if they didn't, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just grace and kindness is definitely how I would approach this situation.